because it was Tennessee. The Tennessee Titans, I think it was like 3 players and 5 employees tested positive. So they're not allowed at the facility all week until Saturday. And they're supposed to play the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday. That's going to make that hard. The Minnesota Vikings are also not practicing yet. I don't know if I'm not sure if they're out the whole week or not, because I don't think anyone tested positive for Minnesota, but they just played each other, so as a precaution, they're not participating in practice, at least for today, as far as I know. It was a tough week for me in fantasy football. Out of my whole league, I scored the second most points this week. And I lost because I went against the person that had the most. Blake had, so I went against Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl season team. And he had Russell Wilson, Alvin Kamara, and Michael Gallup in the Tampa Bay defense. Those 4 right there killed me. And I was looking good too up until like 4 minutes left in the Dallas-Seattle game. Like, the last 4 minutes of that game killed me. And, because I have Baltimore's defense. And, that was the only team I had going Monday night. So, like, after the 4 o'clock games, I didn't have anyone going until Monday night. I had Baltimore's defense, and I of course kept checking the scores, and I was looking good. I was looking so good. And then the last 4 minutes of that Dallas game, Russell Wilson went off. Or Russell Wilson went off the whole game, but in the beginning of the game, in the first half and into the third quarter, a lot of Russell Wilson's points came a la Tyler Lockett, who I have on my team, so it was kind of balancing out. But then in the fourth quarter, Russell Wilson threw a bomb to, I think it was DK Metcalf, and because if I would have played literally anybody else in my league, I would have won. So I thought I'm 1-2. I'm 1-2 now, but I have the second most points scored for the season out of our whole league, and also I have the second most points scored against me in our league as well. So I've played really good teams so far. That's good. That's a good sign typically for like the big picture of the league. Having scored as many points as I have, even though it's only gotten me a 1-2 record so far, it should even out in the long run, and I should be there at the end, I hope. Alright, let's take a look at some statistics. Some football statistics. I already went over the Miami-Jacksonville game from Thursday night. Miami won that. Ryan Fitzpatrick looked really good. I think he only missed 2 passes the whole game. But on Sunday, the Cleveland Browns defeated the Washington football team 34-20. For Washington, Dwayne Haskins was 21 of 37 for 224 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, a QBR of 30.8 and a rating of 58.8. Gibson carried the rock 9 times for 49 yards and a touchdown. Terry McLaurin had 4 receptions for 83 yards. Inman had 3 receptions for 38 yards and 2 touchdowns. For the Cleveland Browns, Baker Mayfield was 16 of 23 for 156 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, a QBR of 74.1 and a rating of 117.3. Nick Chubb carried the rock 19 times for 108 yards and 2 touchdowns. Odell Beckham Jr. had 4 receptions for 59 yards. Kareem Hunt had 2 receptions for 18 yards and a touchdown. Cleveland, look, both of these teams suck. Cleveland won by 2 touchdowns, yes, but they won the turnover battle 5-0. When you're +5 in the turnover category, you need to be winning by more than 2 touchdowns. Okay, especially against Washington. So, two wins in a row for the Browns, above 500 for the first time in a long time. But y'all should not be celebrating in Cleveland. I don't think they're very good. They only beat Cincinnati by 5, only beat Washington by 2 touchdowns, with a +5 in the turnover category. Okay, the Carolina Panthers defeated the Los Angeles Chargers 21-16. Teddy Two Gloves Teddy Bridgewater was 22 of 28 for 235 yards and 1 touchdown. QBR of 62.8 and a rating of 113.5. Davis carried the rock 13 times for 46 yards. Remember, Christian McCaffrey out with a high ankle sprain. DJ Moore had 2 receptions for 65 yards. Robbie Anderson had 5 receptions for 55 yards. Davis had 8 receptions for 45 yards and a touchdown. For the Los Angeles Chargers, Herbert got the start. Tyrod Taylor, remember, had a punctured lung from one of the team doctors that tried to give him a pain-killing injection into his ribs before the game in week 2. Herbert was 35 of 49 for 330 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, a QBR of 51.8 and a rating of 88. Austin Eckler carried the rock 12 times for 59 yards and a touchdown. Keenan Allen had 13 receptions for 132 yards and a touchdown. Eckler had 11 receptions for 84 yards. The Chicago Bears defeated the Atlanta Falcons Bears benched Mitchell Trubisky on Sunday. I think it must have been in the third quarter. And Nick Foles finished out the game and got the win for the Bears, 30-26. Nick Foles was 16 of 29 for 188 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, a QBR of 66, and a rating of 95.2. Mitchell Trubisky before that was 13 of 22 for 128 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, a QBR of 59.9, and a rating of 71.8. The Bears have said that Nick Foles is their guy going forward. He will have this. It's his starting. It's his spot to lose. So Mitchell Trubisky did have 1 carry for 45 yards. Montgomery had 14 carries for 45 yards. Robinson had 10 receptions for 123 yards and a touchdown. Jimmy Graham had 6 receptions for 60 yards and 2 touchdowns. Miller had 2 receptions for 41 yards and a touchdown. For the Atlanta Falcons, Matt Ryan was 19 of 38 for 238 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, a QBR of 45.1 and a rating of 67.7. Todd Gurley carried the rock 14 times for 80 yards and a touchdown. Hill carried the rock 9 times for 58 yards and a touchdown. Calvin Ridley having a season so far. I know it's only 3 games, but 5 receptions for 110 yards for Calvin Ridley. Julio Jones did not play in this game. Chicago 3-0, Atlanta 0-3. Wasn't really expecting that prior to the season. Okay, the Buffalo Bills defeated the Los Angeles Rams 35-32. The Bills almost looking like the Falcons, trying to blow a big lead, but they did blow a big lead, but Josh Allen and the Bills got it done in the end. They came out with the dub, 35-32. For the Rams, Jared Goff was 23 of 32 for 321 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, a QBR of 80.4 and a rating of 111.6. Henderson carried the rock 20 times for 114 yards and a touchdown. Cooper Kupp had 9 receptions for 107 yards and a touchdown. Robert Woods had 5 receptions for 74 yards and a touchdown. For the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen was 24 of 33 for 311 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, a QBR of 83.8 and a rating of 128.9. Devin Singletary carried the rock 13 times for 71 yards. Cole Beasley had 6 receptions for 100 yards. Davis had 4 receptions for 81 yards. Stephon Diggs had 4 receptions for 49 yards and a touchdown. Tyler Kroft had 4 receptions for 24 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Bills are 3-0. The Rams fall to 2-1. The Tennessee Titans defeated the Minnesota Vikings 31-30. For Tennessee, Ryan Tannehill was 23 of 37 for 321 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception, a QBR of 49.8 and a rating of 78.8. Derrick Henry carried the rock 26 times for 119 yards and 2 touchdowns. Raymond had 3 receptions for 118 yards. Davis had 5 receptions for 69 yards. For the Minnesota Vikings, Kirk Cousins was 16 of 27 for 251 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions for a QBR of 44.3 and a rating of 96.4. Dalvin Cook carried the rock 22 times for 181 yards and a touchdown. Justin Jefferson have a day. Justin Jefferson, 7 receptions for 175 yards, 1 touchdown, including a 71-yarder. Adam Thielen had 3 receptions for 29 yards and a touchdown. Minnesota falls to 0-3. Tennessee improves to 3-0 on the leg of their kicker, by the way, Gostkowski. After having a bad week 1, a miserable week 1, he's bounced back big for them. The New England Patriots defeated the Las Vegas Raiders 36-20. For the Raiders, Derek Carr was 24 of 32 for 261 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, a QBR of 52.9 and a rating of 119.4. Josh Jacobs carried the rock 16 times for 71 yards. Hunter Renfrow 6 receptions for 84 yards and a touchdown. For the Patriots, Cam Newton was 17 of 28 for 162 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, a QBR of only 26.7 and a rating of 73.8. Sony Michel carried the rock 9 times for 117 yards. Rex Burkhead had carried the rock 6 times for 49 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also had 7 receptions for 49 yards and a touchdown. The San Francisco 49ers defeated the New York Giants 36-9. For San Francisco, Mullins getting the start for Garoppolo. Remember, the 49ers are just completely decimated by injuries right now. But Mullins was 25 of 36 for 343 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, a QBR of 80, and a rating of 108.9. McKinnon carried the rock 14 times for 38 yards and a touchdown. Ayuk carried the rock 3 times for 31 yards and a touchdown. Wilson carried the rock 12 times for 15 yards and a touchdown. Ayuk also had 5 receptions for 70 yards. For the Giants, remember, no Saquon Barkley. Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes was 17 of 32 for 179 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception, a QBR of 50.3 and a rating of 56.6. He was the leading rusher as well, 5 carries for 49 yards. And Slayton was the leading receiver with 3 receptions for 53 yards. Alright, moving on here. The Cincinnati Bengals defeated the... No, that's not right. The Philadelphia Eagles defeated the... You know what? The Bengals and the Eagles tied 23-23, and I don't even want to talk about either one of those sorry-ass teams. So, I'm gonna skip it. Can we change the overtime rules also? I mean, let's change the overtime rules for real. Why can't we have a winner? Why can't we have a winner? I don't understand. Alright, the Pittsburgh Steelers defeated the Houston Texans 28-21. For Houston, Deshaun Watson was 19 of 27 for 264 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, a QBR of 79.2, and a rating of 110.7. David Johnson carried the rock 13 times for 23 yards and a touchdown. Randall Cobb had 4 receptions for 95 yards and a touchdown. Will Fuller, the 5th, had 4 receptions for 54 yards and a touchdown. For the Pittsburgh Steelers, Ben Roethlisberger was 23 of 36 for 237 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, a QBR of 54.3, and a rating of 101.3. James Conner carried the rock 18 times for 109 yards and a touchdown. Eric Ebron had 5 receptions for 52 yards and a touchdown. Juju Smith-Schuster had 4 receptions for 43 yards and a touchdown. Juju Smith-Schuster has the best ASMR name, potentially of all time. Juju Smith-Schuster. Juju Smith-Schuster. Alright, the Indianapolis Colts defeated the New York Jets 36-7. The Jets. The Jets are such a dumpster fire. Sam Darnold was 17 of 29 for 168 yards and 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions for a QBR of 12.4 and a rating of 47. Frank Gore carried the rock 15 times for 57 yards. Berrios had 4 receptions for 64 yards and a touchdown. For the Indianapolis Colts, Phillip Rivers was 17 of 21 for 217 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, a QBR of 91.1, and a rating of 125.6. No interceptions for Phillip Rivers and 3 interceptions for Sam Darnold. You know that when you're throwing more picks than Phillip Rivers, it's going to be a tough day. Taylor carried the rock 13 times for 59 yards and a touchdown. T.Y. Hilton had 3 receptions for 52 yards Driscoll was 17 of 30 for 176 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception for a QBR of 21.8 and a rating of 71. They brought in Rippon. He was 8 of 9 for 53 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception, a QBR of 49 and a rating of 51.6. And Rippon will be the starter currently going forward, at least for this week. Melvin Gordon carried the rock 8 times for 26 yards. Jerry Jeudy had 5 receptions for 55 yards. Okay, the Detroit Lions defeated the Arizona Cardinals 26-23. For the Lions, Matt Stafford was 22 of 31 for 270 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, a QBR of 68 and a rating of 119. Adrian Peterson carried the rock 22 times for 75 yards, 22 carries for Adrian Peterson. I think they gave him the rock like 14 times in the first half. I was like, how many carries is he going to end up with? So, he didn't get it as many times in the second half. But still, 22 carries for Adrian Peterson at his age is a heavy load. Kenny Galladay had 6 receptions for 57 yards and a touchdown. TJ Hockenson had 4 receptions for 53 yards. For the Arizona Cardinals, Kyler Murray was 23 of 35 for 270 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, a QBR of 48 and a rating of 72.3. Kenyon Drake carried the rock 18 times for 73 yards. Kyler Murray carried the rock 5 times for 29 yards and a touchdown. DeAndre Hopkins continues to ball out, 10 receptions for 137 yards. Isabella had 4 receptions for 47 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Seattle Seahawks defeated the Dallas Cowboys 38-31. Dallas almost came back again, but the Seahawks held them off. Dak Prescott was 37 of 57 for 472 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, a QBR of 73.3 and a rating of 93.6. Ezekiel Elliott carried the rock 14 times for 34 yards and a touchdown. Michael Gallup had 6 receptions for 138 yards and a touchdown. Wilson had 5 receptions for 107 yards and 2 touchdowns. For the Seattle Seahawks, Russell Wilson was 27 of 40 for 315 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. A QBR of 83.6 and a rating of 130.7. My man is balling out this year. Chris Carson carried the rock 14 times for 64 yards. DK Metcalf had 4 receptions for 110 yards and a touchdown. Tyler Lockett had 9 receptions for 100 yards and 3 touchdowns. Have a game, Tyler Lockett. Greg Olsen had 5 receptions for 61 yards. DK Metcalf did do his best Deshaun Jackson impersonation, or I guess it was more of a Leon Lett impersonation, wasn't it? Since I think it was Diggs that knocked out the ball from behind. He had burned him going deep and caught the ball and like inside the 5-yard line getting ready to score. Diggs came and knocked the ball out, fumbled it, and went out the back of the end zone. So DK Metcalf could have had like another reception for another like 40 yards and another touchdown. That would have been ridiculous. That would have been like 5 catches for like 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. Alright, the Sunday night game was really good. The Green Bay Packers defeated the New Orleans Saints 37-30. For the Green Bay Packers, Aaron Rodgers was 21 of 32 for 283 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, a QBR of 87.5 and a rating of 124.9. My man is balling out this year too. Aaron Jones carried the rock 16 times for 69 yards, 1 touchdown. Lazard had 6 receptions for 146 yards and a touchdown. Tanyan had 5 receptions for 50 yards and a touchdown. Lewis had 1 reception for 18 yards and a touchdown. Remember, no Devontae Adams in this game. No Michael Thomas in this game either for the Saints. And for the Saints, Drew Brees just made the Green Bay Packers look silly. Very silly. Emmanuel Sanders had 4 receptions for 56 yards and a touchdown. Alright, Monday night football, the Kansas City Chiefs defeated the Baltimore Ravens 34-20. For the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes was 31 of 42 for 385 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, a QBR of 97.7 and a rating of 133.5. Ridiculous numbers for Patrick Mahomes. My goodness, how do you beat him? Clyde Edwards-Helaire carried the rock 20 times for 64 yards. Patrick Mahomes also carried the rock 4 times for 26 yards and a touchdown. Travis Kelce had 6 receptions for 87 yards. Mecole Hardman had 4 receptions for 81 yards and a touchdown. Tyreek Hill had 5 receptions for 77 yards and a touchdown. For the Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson was 15 of 28 for 97 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, a QBR of 40.4 and a rating of 73.1. Lamar pretty well held in check, passing-wise. He did carry the rock 9 times for 83 yards as well. J.K. Dobbins had 4 receptions for 38 yards. He was the leading receiver. That's how little they accomplished through the air. Total only 97 yards passing and 158 yards rushing for the Ravens. Alright, so for my power rankings this week, I've got the Chiefs at number 1, the Green Bay Packers at number 2, the Seattle Seahawks at number 3. A little bit concerned by how many points the Seahawks are giving up, so that's why they're at 3. And number 4, I've got, what I put it for? I think at 4 I'll put the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then at 5 the Buffalo Bills. I'm not ready to put the Bears up. I know the Bears are 3-0. I'm not ready to put them in the top 5 power rankings yet. The Tennessee Titans are 3-0, but I'm not ready to put them in the power rankings yet. I would say probably next up in line would be maybe on the cusp of getting into the power rankings. The New England Patriots will probably be next up, I feel like. But anyways, as far as the MVP race is going so far, I know it's only week 3, but this is what we do. The most valuable player, I think in the early lead's got to be Russell Wilson. He's been balling out. So I think I go with Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, and Josh Allen. The early cream of the crop: Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, and Josh Allen. Alright, that's about